Okay, so I'm doing this because somebody wanted to see how my garden's doing. And so I thought I'd start at the front with the highlights. These are my sweet peas, which are doing really, really well. And then here's my marigolds. Let me get out of the way. Those are pot flowers my husband planted for me. Some have died, the rest survived, which is mainly marigolds and vinica. And then these are some lettuce seedlings and corn salad that I planted here. I was running out of space at the time. Another thing of flowers, just some my son's daisy, which I got on sale at Walmart, the seedling. Some nasturtiums and more marigolds. If you haven't guessed, I like marigolds. Another pot my husband planted. Those are the survivors. And our little planter. And then this is my dwarf raspberry bush called Raspberry Shortcake. Produced a nice little crop of raspberries this year. One of my hanging baskets, they aren't doing that well. And walking back here, this is supposed to be my flower bed. There are flowers in there. There's also a lot of grass. There's a Cosmo, and I'm guessing that's bindweed. I call it wild morning glory. Some borage, another Cosmo, a zinnia that did pretty well, more weeds, really big sunflower. Don't know if it'll bloom this year because of when I planted it. That's my potato in a bag. I had more up and down through here, but they kind of started dying off and I had to harvest them. More flowers. And back there in those two long ones are kale. Let's see if I can zoom in. Yep, those are my kale plants. This is a blackberry that needs to be planted. There's another one. And that is a Roma tomato planted in a straw bale. My experiment for the year. If you're wondering about the bucket, I got 2 holes punched in bottom, and I filled it up with water twice already to give it a nice good deep watering because it lets the water out slowly. That's a dinosaur kale plant. There are some fall seedlings of cabbage and Brussels sprouts and kaleettes that got started. I think the stuff on the lower shelf died, but hey, you can't win them all. And these are my cucumber plants. Right now they are kind of fighting powdery mildew. I did spray them down Thursday, so I'll be spraying them down next Thursday again. They also got some buckets with holes in the bottom for watering. And if you're wondering what a lemon cucumber looks like, this would be a lemon cucumber. And the lemon cucumber has gone crazy, as you can tell. And I got one little squash plant over here called a dialectic squash. I'm not sure if I'll get anything off of it. This is first week of August in Ohio. Zone 6A. So, don't know if I'll get anything. Another little thing of lettuce. And better look at my little seedlings. And I'll tell you what that is in a minute. Get around where you can get better look. Laura, if you're watching this, this is my first video. But yeah, that is a greenhouse my husband built for me. He's awesome. That's a sweet potato in a bag. That's a basil because a potato died, so I planted the basil there. There's another sweet potato back there. Another sweet potato. That's actually a gooseberry bush I'm trying to grow in a pot. Ran out of room in the backyard. That is a black currant, and that's a red currant. There are some carrots I planted. That's thyme and a sage plant. Sorry about the weeds. And that monstrosity are my scarlet runner beans. I've been watching a lot of British gardening shows and thought I'd give them a try. And they aren't too bad. They taste really good. That's a late flat Dutch cabbage back there that I need to get the weeds out of. Show you what I got in here. Not much, but these are some peppers that I am starting indoors. Well, in a greenhouse. They'll probably make their way into your house before winter is over, just depending. But we'll see how it goes. And that's my husband's idea of a joke. He says it is a salad green, and it's a dandelion growing in a pot that had something in it and died. So, we've just kind of left it in there. And yeah. That's all I'm going to say about that. And around here, I planted some Sumter cucumbers. I'll see if I can get them up and growing before the frost comes. That is a Jerusalem artichoke. And if you're wondering why it's a little droopy, it needs water just like everything else. We've been getting like 80, 90 degree weather up here. And another hanging basket. Like I said, that one also isn't doing that good. That one has gone nuts, which I probably need to water again. I watered it once today, and I'm finding out with hanging baskets you need to water them about twice a day, as with all containers. A little bit of a mess we have going on. Some hostas that I planted like when I was in not high school, but after high school. There's a mint plant, and I got another one over here. And I learned early on that you only plant mint in containers unless you have a place where you can run a lawnmower regularly, because it goes nuts. Which, strangely enough, I argued with Mom at the time that if you plant mint in the yard, you could keep track of it, or a garden bed. She proved right. My weedy flower bed, which I was trying to go here with bee-loving flowers. And if you're wondering why the screen is going out of focus, it's windy and I think the camera's having difficulty. But more marigolds. They seem to be growing the best. And got some black-eyed Susans. A Cosmo and some, I know what those are, but I don't know how to pronounce them. They're called, I can spell it, Cleome. So, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I just know they're pretty, and also I was just looking for stuff to toss in the bed. Our grapevine that has been there for years, which we got a pretty good crop of Concord grapes off it. Another flower bed I planted. Yeah, there's a lot of weeds in there. Ferns, hostas, a lot of shade loving that's going to get transplanted over into another bed I have. Now let's see if I can do this, unlatch the gate and get into the garden. We put up a fence to keep rabbits out, which the baby rabbits can get through the regular chain link fence over there. So it didn't work for that, but we did end up with a groundhog and it keeps it out. So that's all nice and good. These are my tomato plants. And as you can tell, they got some leaf spot on them, which I sprayed them down same time I did the cucumbers. So they're starting to perk back up again. I tried to go all organic And I like tomatoes too well, which I need to harvest them also. That's a basil plant that's doing really nice and happy. I got another one over there. Our one pepper plant that looks like it's doing good. Those are our blueberry bushes. And that's a hydrangea my husband planted there, so he could tell if the soil was alkaline or the opposite of alkaline. I can't remember it right off the top of my head. There's our beans, and there's the tomatoes that I did not spray that I was holding out on. Yeah, that's what happens if you don't spray tomatoes with spectorial leaf spot. All the leaves die, and yeah, I'm just waiting for tomatoes to ripen so I can pick them off and then pull these plants out and plant cabbages and stuff. Another basil plant. That's purple basil, and that's just regular sweet basil. And here is my husband's summer nemesis, Japanese beetles. I didn't know they liked basil, but apparently they do. Which, all the way over there is his Japanese beetle trap, which looks like it's half full. So, that's our solution. And there are blackberries. They got frosted and kind of got puny, except for that one on the end. I bought that at a greenhouse in Delaware, and it just went nuts. Of course, it was bigger than all the rest when we planted it, too. And there's another tomato that survived, which, as you can tell, I need to tie up. And there's another one that I need to tie up. These, if anybody is wondering, are Brussels sprouts. They went crazy. Fortunately, we found out we liked them after I planted them. Those are leeks, which I had a hard time with them this year. That is Russian kale with parsnips growing underneath. So, and over here is our raspberries. Oh, that one's a twig. It died. That's a raspberry, and that's a raspberry, which we found out after we got them that our kids do not like raspberries. There's another kale and parsnip and leeks. And I'm still trying to figure out what to do about flower stalks on leeks. I know onions, you pull them. I'm not sure about leeks. I'll have to look that up. Another kale plant. This is celery. And believe it or not, these two cabbages have been in here since March. And they're now just starting to do something. So, don't know what I did there. Of course, they also had they got cabbage root maggot in that, so we finally got that taken care of, and then they're just shaded out by everything else, so now they're actually getting sun and all that. Another dinosaur kale. This one also got shaded out and all that, so it's now starting to do something. Celery. Another late flat Dutch cabbage, which is doing really good. Same as with the other cabbages, got shaded and all that. And I'm thinking they don't like it when you plant peas near them, because this whole fence had peas on it. There's some parsnip and carrots. My big parsnip. A couple leeks. And a Swiss chard in there somewhere. Over here are more tomatoes. These got planted later and caught them sooner on the leaf spot, so I think another spraying and they'll do good. There's some watermelon plants. And I'll just walk around. I'm not sure if this is butternut squash or Hubbard squash. Beans. And somewhere in here was fava beans. I don't see them now, but I got another crop planted. That's my corn, beans, and pumpkin squash bed. It kind of got out of control this year. So, and it looks like the end of this video is coming up, so I better talk and walk a little faster. You've seen that. And these are my fall peas and fava beans. And, well, that's my rhubarb, no Brussels sprout, and past it the asparagus and strawberry bed. And apparently this video can go on longer. Okay, well, I'll go back to this. Yeah, the story with all this is we didn't get the bed built in time. So we did like they don't recommend and planted everything at once. So the corn got shaded out, and what grew was probably too far apart to pollinate. I'm not hoping on corn. The squash and pumpkins did good, and the beans are now starting to produce flowers, and a few of them, I can show you the end result of Japanese beetles, in case anybody is wondering. Yeah, right down there is a skeletonized leaf. I can show you a bit better on the rhubarb, because for some reason, it's the one pest rhubarb gets. And down there is a nice little Hubbard squash and butternut squash. And this is the only butternut squash I have seen, so I don't know if I have any more, or if I will. And coming around here, that's my watermelon plant with a little tiny watermelon on it. And I think I'm sure, I don't know if you can see it or not. So move around here, more beans. Those are fava beans. And I don't think they're doing very well. Same there. I don't know if it's too hot or what. And I also gotta admit, this is the first time I've ever seen what the British call black fly, which I call aphids, which is those little black spots. So yeah, and that tomato got very happy and is growing over into corn. I need to tie him up. And this is, yeah, I'm not sure what this is. Oh, it's butternut squash. There's the tag. Yeah, if anybody watches this to the end, please don't laugh too much. And there's my 2 pumpkins. I know they're not supposed to be that close, but I didn't catch them until they were really big. We've had a ton of rain this year, which stinks trying to get out in the garden. And these are more of my peas and fava beans. I just got mulched this past week. And a little side note, if you can see it, their tips are burnt. That's because I put wet grass clippings on top of the straw that's underneath them, and apparently it got too hot for them and scorched their leaves. But they should grow up and come out of it and be just fine. At least that's my theory. This is my other Brussels sprout, which is funny because it is more far. I planted it the same time I did all the others, and it is farther along than the rest. And this bed had nothing done to it. I think all I do is harvest rhubarb and toss the leaves onto this bed. But I must be doing something right because that rhubarb's happy. And as you can see, more Japanese beetles and a very skeletonized leaf. And then these are asparagus fronds that have fallen over onto my rhubarb patch. And our strawberries. I haven't read anywhere where you're supposed to plant asparagus and strawberries together, but they seem to do okay together and are nice and happy. So we just let go at that. And the back part of our grape arbor. Well, that's my garden. So yeah, the tomatoes were the worst success this year. But I still have hope. And I still need to pick them while the kids are asleep. I'll talk to you later. Bye.